Hi, it's Kendan, and today I'm going to discuss Act 5 of Hamlet, the final act. And this is where everything kind of ties together plot-wise, as well as with the thematic structure that Shakespeare sets out. We begin with a graveyard scene. There's two men discussing, they're grave diggers, and they're discussing Ophelia's burial and whether or not she deserves a Christian burial, which was like back then, basically, it was an honor and respect thing that if you lived a good Christian life, you would be buried with the proper, like, prayers said over you, and you'd have a funeral and things like that. And they're basically talking about whether or not Ophelia deserves this because she committed suicide. One of the men even jokes, I think, unless she killed herself in self-defense, which is pretty dark, but Shakespeare liked dark jokes, so this scene is kind of about the law of man versus the law of God, because to these men, they're talking about how, according to God, Ophelia shouldn't be buried properly, she should just be tossed in the dirt, and Claudius has decreed that she has to be buried this way. So that's that, and then the scene is really all about death, obviously, because it's a grave scene, but really more about death as a thematic concept. Hamlet talks about everyone being equal once they're in the grave, no matter if they're a lawyer or he picks up the skull of a court jester named Yorick, and he gives a little short monologue about the equality of death, essentially. And then Hamlet and Laertes have a really petty contest over who loved Ophelia more while standing over her body. Hamlet jumps into Ophelia's grave. It's just really gross. And this is more of Hamlet acting crazy, but you don't know if he's really crazy or not. And then they basically, Claudius is like, "Oh, Hamlet, you're back. Wow, I'm so glad to see you." And so he and Laertes plan out Hamlet's death, and in scene 2, after Hamlet and Horatio discuss Hamlet's return and how Hamlet swapped the letter for one to say that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern should be killed, which, by the way, is really intense. And even Horatio is like, "You did what?" And Hamlet is like, "Yep, haha, they're dead." Essentially, they're really cavalier about it, which shows a lot about how not only Hamlet was thinking about everyone's lives, because he kind of talks about tossing away his own earlier in the play, and so it's likely that he doesn't really care about anybody's lives. Then Osric comes in and tells Hamlet about a fencing match with Laertes and how the king has bet on Laertes to goad Hamlet into fighting him. And this whole scene is about this is the end of the play, really. It's a long scene, but this whole scene 2 is about Laertes being Hamlet's foil, which is funny because Hamlet actually says, "I'll be your foil, Laertes," which means I'll be your enemy, but structurally, Laertes is Hamlet's foil, meaning he's his direct opposite in terms of they both get similar motivations but behave completely differently as a reaction. Claudius tries to poison Hamlet with the wine, but Gertrude drinks from the wine and is poisoned herself. Laertes pokes Hamlet, and he's like, "Ow, that hurt. This is supposed to be a fencing duel." And Laertes is like, "Mm." And then Hamlet takes the sword, stabs Laertes, and then stabs the king because Laertes admits that the sword is poisoned. Everything goes crazy because Gertrude dies. It sets kind of all this in motion. This is all just kind of summary. You've read this, I assume. Hamlet and Horatio share a goodbye. Fortinbras comes in and takes over. because all the monarchs are dead. So he's just kind of like, hey, free real estate. And then, so this is the end of the show, and it's a really short act scene-wise, which makes this kind of a short video, but it really ties up the themes of the show very well. There's a lot about loyalty. Horatio talks about killing himself because he's loyal to Hamlet. When he says, I was always more of a Roman than a Dane, that's about Roman politicians killing themselves. And there's just a lot tied up here about corruption, how, because everyone is basically dead except for Horatio and Fortinbras. And so, or everyone important is dead. And so it shows how Claudius's influence has basically destroyed the entire court. There's a lot of betrayal happening here. Claudius's one betrayal has set the deaths in motion of everyone. There's the religious themes in this act with Ophelia's burial, and about suicide and things like that. There's a lot about death and how death makes us all equals in the grave. And not really that I would have known that, like, Shakespeare would have known about the idea of karma, but there's definitely some karmic ideals happening here, because everyone kind of gets their just desserts. Hamlet's committed multiple murders, and Laertes is trying to kill people. Claudius has killed people and is killing people. Everyone who's betrayed somebody else dies, basically, which is a really Old Testament eye for an eye idea about just desserts or karma, but it ties the play together very well. I think that's all the analysis I have. Every line in Shakespeare is rich with meaning and meant to be analyzed, but I think that those are the main ideas here, and you're welcome to find more, but those are the things that I think are really important and that I want to talk about in this video. I hope you've enjoyed this little series. I hope these have been helpful to you, and good luck with whatever assignments Miss Jensen gives you.